Hi, everyone. My name is Melissa Toohey, and I'm the EdTech and Adoption Specialist here at Ozobot. And we're joined here with Adrian White and Cassandra, who are also on our Ozobot team. And we're thrilled to be featuring our remote-friendly lesson series today and sharing that with you. My name is Melissa Toohey. I'm the EdTech and Adoption Specialist here at Ozobot. I'm a former kindergarten and first grade teacher, and I've also coached teachers in implementing computer science. And when I am not working here at Ozobot, I'm pursuing my doctoral degree in educational leadership at UCLA. So I live and breathe computer science, and I'm really thrilled to be here with you. And we also have Adrian with us. Adrian, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Adrian White. I'm the Director of Marketing at Ozobot. I've been with the team 4 years as of this month. And really happy to be here and connecting with you guys on some of our solutions to the challenges of the moment. We know it's a really difficult time, but we want to support our community and get your feedback on how we're doing. So thanks for being here.
All right, so we'll go ahead and dive right in. We are going to cover the first 4 lessons in our remote-friendly lesson series. And I wanted to start with just a general overview of what our remote-friendly lesson series looks like. We are launching with 2nd through 5th grade lessons. The recommended pacing for these lessons are 1 lesson per week, and we will have ELA, math, science, and CSTA and ISTE standards aligned to these lessons. So each one of these lessons in the remote-friendly series will be aligned to 1 ISTE standard, 1 CSTA standard, and 1 content standard. So that would be either Common Core Math, Common Core ELA, NGSS, or NGSS. And so that's kind of a bigger picture overview of what each lesson will look like. Diving a little bit deeper into these lesson plans, these are fully comprehensive. We have designed these lessons with teachers in mind. We know that there is so much on your plate right now under the current circumstances that teachers are looking for plug and play types of materials. What's beautiful about these remote-friendly lessons is they are plug and play for the teacher, but if you want to get a little bit more involved and have some of those synchronous learning opportunities, we have a synchronous learning plan for you. And that that lesson plan covers everything that we cover in the instructional video. So the lessons include a synchronous learning plan. If you feel like that's your style and you don't want to use a video, that lesson plan is there for you. If you feel like you're in the middle and you'd like a video for some support, but you want to try teaching on your own, you can combine those 2 things. If you're a little bit more hesitant and not as willing to dive right in, then that instructional video will carry all of your instruction. And these are meant to be self-paced and self-guided by students. So all of that heavy lifting has been taken off of you. All you need to do is assign the lesson. And again, these are content-aligned lessons. There's the student activity guide so that you can give those materials to students as well if they need hard copies, even though we've handled all of it digitally. But those materials are there for you if and when you need them. There's also student activity sheets to go with every single lesson and teacher answer key or a potential solution, because we know with coding, there's not always just one right answer. So we, depending on the lesson and what content is being taught, there is an answer key or a potential solution. So again, the synchronous learning plans look very similar to, they actually look, they're in the same format. If you're familiar with our lesson plans in our current lesson library, they're in that same format where they include the direct instruction, the materials, the student practice, the line standards, all the supplements. It's a comprehensive lesson plan for you. So if you're more of a traditional lesson plan type of person, it's all there for you. If not, you're welcome to use the links and the resources within that lesson plan to use how you'd like. But we do have, we'll be talking about this a little bit later in the webinar, we do have Google Classroom integration to make it easier for you. So yes, Louisa asked a quick question and she said, can these be used in class as well? Absolutely, these can be adapted to use however you'd like. You have the access to the videos. I've seen teachers use videos to help either introduce the concept, or actually guide students through instruction. It's completely up to you how you would like to use these resources. We've kind of built a one-size-fits-all for whatever context you're in to meet your needs, and you can adapt based on your needs. Again, this is an example of what potential answer keys and solutions look like. They're filled in for you. That way, when you're evaluating student work, you know exactly what type of work to expect from them. So all of this is included for you to make your job as easy as possible. So with that, we'll dive right into the first 4 lessons in our remote series. These lessons are really, really wonderful because they are our introduction to EVO lessons. We cover everything from the hardware components of Ozobot EVO to the line following, to the color codes, and to the directionality. If you're familiar with Ozobot and you've used basic training or bot camp in your class already, you'll find that this content is pretty much the same. We meshed both bot camp and basic training together to have one solution so that your students can be fully onboarded to EVO, so that when they complete all 4 lessons, they're ready to use their Ozobot and they know how to use all of the line following and the color code features of the bot. So what we'll do in the first part of this webinar is we'll actually dive right into the first 4 lessons. I'll give you a peek at what they look like, and then yeah, we'll dive deep into the content, and you're welcome to ask any questions. So the first lesson. Oh,
can I interrupt you really quickly with
yes.
my own question? I know we covered the fact that most of the remote friendly lessons we're going to be releasing are for grades 2 through 5. But I know we've got like some preschool teachers and a couple of middle school teachers here as well. And I believe these first 4 lessons really apply to a wider grade range, right?
Yes, thank you for clarifying, Adrian. With these first 4 lessons, we are actually recommending that everybody, no matter their grade level, start with these 4 lessons. So it is pre-K through 12th grade, so that all students, no matter what their age, they know exactly what the functionality of the bot is and how to use the bot when it comes to color codes and markers. Thank you for mentioning that, Adrian. We also provide tips for scaffolding and adjusting if you teach pre-K and if you teach kindergarten or pre-readers or emergent readers. We have tips for you of how to adjust some of these things so that your students aren't completely lost or relying on reading to achieve the goals of the lesson. So with that example, our first lesson is Get to Know EVO. And in this lesson, the students are just getting to know the hardware components of the bot. This is what their worksheet looks like. They actually have this diagram where they follow along with the video to fill out the different portions of the bot, and they have to identify on their own bot and then label them on the worksheet. And for example, if you're teaching pre-readers or really, really little ones, we would recommend that having them even just identify the initial sound, and for example, power button, they could just label that sound. Or they could use this page as a coloring sheet and point and name the features and the hardware components. So they're not excluded from the experience. There's ways to scaffold so that all students have access and are able to use these lessons. So what I'd like to do is I'd actually like to dive into one part of this lesson video. Our lesson videos, we're aiming to keep them between 5 and 10 minutes so that we can keep students engaged and that they're not just watching a video. We want them interacting. We want them using the bot. We want them to be excited about their Ozobot lesson. With that said, some of our introductory videos we handhold the students so that they can be successful right off the bat. So these videos are a little bit lengthier. I believe they're just past 10 minutes, but I wanted to show you just a little snippet of each of these videos so that you can get an idea and a feel for what they're like. In the slide deck, if you access them later, through our website or through YouTube, you can actually get access to the full video. They're embedded in the slide deck, so you're welcome to revisit and watch the whole thing if you'd like later on. But with that, I'd like to start with, this is one chapter. This is the beginning of the Get to Know EVO lesson. And you'll see that we cover everything the student needs to know. So in this introductory example, I go over the materials that are needed and I introduce the lesson. So we'll go ahead and start that. Hi everyone, Miss Toohey here. We are going to get to know your Ozobot today. For today's lesson, you will need an Ozobot Evo, a pencil, your Get to Know EVO worksheet, and optionally, if you'd like to color, markers, colored pencils, or crayons. In today's lesson, you will be introduced to EVO's various hardware components. By the end of today's lesson, you will be able to identify and label EVO's hardware. Before we jump in, let's review some vocabulary. Today, we will be exploring EVO's hardware. What is hardware? Hardware can be defined as the physical parts of a computer or a robot. As we go through the different hardware components of the bot, follow along on your worksheet to label the different parts of EVO. So again, I'm not going to show the whole video because it's quite lengthy, and I know we're limited on time during this webinar, but you will have access to go back and watch the whole video if you'd like. So I just wanted to point out that every video starts this way. An introduction, we list the materials that the student needs so that they know exactly what they need to get started while they're following along. And we list the goals so students know exactly what's expected of them when they go to turn in their work. So we'll dive into the next lesson, which is our Introduction to Color Codes #1, the line following. And we spend this whole video focused on EVO's line following capabilities. With that, we also teach students how to calibrate the bot in the video. We go over the line following capabilities where students practice drawing lines and get their bot to the end. They also have the opportunity to draw a circle, to draw corners and curves, and to draw with their colored markers. And with that, we point out that when EVO travels over specific colors, the LEDs change to match the color that it's traveling over. So with this lesson, I picked the Scene Color chapter for us to take a look at, just so you can get an idea for the feel of instruction and what that looks like. Ozobot can see color through its optical sensor. Watch me as I use green, blue, and red to draw colored lines for the Ozobot to follow. I'm going to start with red. Again, I'm going to use that chisel tip to help me draw a line that is just right. Then I will use blue to draw a corner and a curve. Then I'll finish with green to draw my last curve. Then I will place the Ozobot at start. What do you notice about the Ozobot's LED lights as it travels over the colored lines? Look closely. That's right, the LED lights change based on the color line that the Ozobot is traveling over. Find page 5. Can you complete the path for Ozobot on your worksheet? So you'll notice not only did I go over the instructions of what the student's supposed to do during that step, at the end we also call students to action, asking them to find the worksheet, to participate, and to follow along with what we are doing. So we've broken it down into really manageable steps. That's what each of these chapters looks like. Students will have the ability to pause and to follow along at their own pace and guide their own instruction. And that was just one chapter of the the various chapters in that lesson. We have one chapter per sheet so students can follow along. You saw one of the chapters towards the end of that video. So with that video, we do have that the introduction with all the materials, just like you saw for the hardware lesson. The second lesson in this series, in the Introduction to Color Code series, is actually drawing and learning how to draw color codes. So with that, students first place the bot on this chart here, and they actually have to label the color code. They watch as the bot travels along. They try to figure out what the color code means, and then they have to label. Then they practice drawing some color codes themselves. And then they learn about symmetric and asymmetric color codes. So this is super important. It's brought to their attention that if a bot reads a color code one way versus another way, if it's asymmetric, the code might be different, or it might be an unexpected outcome. So we do hit on that as well, that they need to pay careful attention to how the bot will be reading the color code. And then they free draw some color codes, and then they have some time to try and troubleshoot and debug some color codes that are drawn in various different ways. And with this lesson, they also get the color code chart to go along with it so that they can use it as reference or help them draw. So we'll dive into this, one of the examples from this lesson. Let's practice drawing some color codes. Find page 2. You are going to practice drawing these 2 color codes that are listed here. Make sure that your color code is between 2 black lines. If you try to use a different colored marker, it won't work. The squares should be the same size, and they shouldn't overlap. Don't leave white spaces between your squares or make them too dark. It needs to be just right. Watch me. I'm going to start with a black marker, and I'm going to draw my line. Then I notice it's red, green, red, green. So I'll grab my red marker and my green marker and have them ready. So I will use that chisel tip to draw red, green, red, green. And do your best job to stay within those dotted lines. After drawing your line, take your bot and place it on start. Notice the name of this color code is tornado. Does the behavior match the name of the color code? It does, doesn't it? Let's try the next one together. Again, I'm going to start with my black marker. And this one is red, green, black, blue. So let's start with red, green, black, and blue. Now it looks like I left a little gap here, so I'm going to very carefully fill that in so that the marker goes all the way up to the color code, and then I will finish my color code with a black line. When I'm done drawing my color code, I will place it on start. This color code is called backwalk. Let's see what happens. Pretty cool, huh? Can you practice drawing color codes on your worksheet? Great, so that is what a lot of the chapters or the video chapters, I should say, in the lesson look like. We actually guide them through every single step on every single page so that we can ensure that they are successful. And the last lesson in this series is Introduction to Color Codes 3, Directionality. Then in this lesson, students learn all about how Ozobot functions when it encounters an intersection. And if there is no color code to tell it which way to turn, students discover that it chooses randomly between different intersections. And we do go over the right, left, and straight color codes as well. So you can see that worksheet here. They get some practice with this fun Ozobot choosing direction, where Ozobot gets to eat pancakes, go to the beach, go get his sunglasses, and play with the dog. So they actually practice those skills. And in the video, I show them how to turn the page so that they can determine if it's right or left, and then fill in the color codes. They also learn about the line switch codes as well. So, and then at the very end, because this is the last lesson, they get some free draw time to try out any of the color codes that they have learned about. So we'll go ahead and show one example. Sometimes you want to tell the bot which way to go rather than having it choose randomly. Let's practice. Find page 2. Here we have a couple of color codes: left at intersection, straight at intersection, and right at intersection. If I put my bot here and I want it to end here, I need to figure out which color code to use. I can do this by turning my paper to face the same direction as me. This will help me determine which way the bot needs to travel. If I know that my bot will be running over this color code and I want it to travel over here, it needs to turn right or left. That's right, I need to code it to turn right, which means looking back at my color codes, I need to use the right at intersection color code: blue, red, green. So I'll start with my blue marker. Then I'll move to red. And I'll end with green. To test my code, I'll place my bot on start, have it read the color code, and see if it reaches the end. Nice work. Can you code your bot to make it to the end on page 2? And that pretty much sums up the first 4 lessons. Again, you just saw tiny snippets, what we call chapters in the video of each lesson. But when we release the slide deck, feel free to go in and view the full video. It'll give you a better idea of what a full lesson looks like. Again, these lesson videos are around 10 minutes long so that we can ensure that students are successful. With that, I wanted to give everybody a sneak peek into what the content will look like after students finish those 4 lessons. Our recommended pacing is 1 lesson a week, so those lessons should take you through the first 4 weeks of school. We are starting to release our standards aligned content, which will focus on ELA, math, and STEAM. And you can see that for 2nd through 5th grade, we have some of the lesson titles here for you to take a look at. I'll also quickly just go through some examples of what the lessons will look like. I do also want to note that if this is something that's very interesting to you, we are going to host webinars with each release focused on ELA content and math content with each release when they are live in our lesson library. So follow our webinar page for those announcements. But with that, in 2nd grade, one of the standards is to able to use irregular plural nouns correctly. It's a mouthful there. So, for example, in this lesson, students are using EVO to drive up engagement in their ELA lessons. So they have this sentence, my are cold, and the word is foot. So they need to determine, is the word feet or foots, and what the proper irregular plural noun is. And with that, they're using the right at intersection or left at intersection color codes to code their bot to travel to the correct plural noun, and then they would fill in that sentence. So we're using really creative ways to engage students in really, really fun ways. In 3rd grade, multiplication is a skill that all 3rd grade teachers teach and focus on. So what we have created is a mix it up multiplication lesson where students will use Ozobot to help them randomly choose numbers. They will write number multiplication sentences and solve them, but they also are applying the commutative property of multiplication. So if what they do is they plug in numbers here, any number, any digit from 1 through 9, they get to choose at the bubble. They place their bot on start, and the bot will randomly choose a number. So if their 2 numbers that they choose are, let's say, 2 and 5, they would write 2 times 5 equals 10. but then they would also write 5 times 2 equals 10 to show that they understand the commutative property and that those values, no matter what order they are in, you still get the same answer result. For ELA, this is an example in 4th grade where students are using prepositions. They're creating almost like a Mad Libs type of story where Ozobot goes to, they get to choose where Ozobot gets to go, where they get to travel to. And then they use this worksheet to actually illustrate the prepositions within their story. In 5th grade, we have a ordered pairs activity where students get to pick an ordered pair. They plot that point on an XY coordinate grid, and then they actually use the colored markers to help them plot out and have Ozobot travel to that coordinate point. So you can see here, they use the black marker and red marker, and each time the color changes, they're able to see that color change on the top of their bot. And so that helps them have that one-to-one correspondence for the X coordinate, and same thing for the Y coordinate. So that is the math content. That's a sneak peek. We are going to be covering those lessons and more in future webinars. So please follow our webinar page to learn more about those. They will be coming up here fairly soon. If you'd like to access today's remote friendly lessons, you can visit our lesson library. Oh, and I'm signed out. Let's see. Within our lesson library, these lessons are actually live right now, and you're able to use them now.
I can actually grab the screen from you.
Yeah, sure.
I think I just did that. So yeah, like Melissa said, for those of you who already have Ozobot Classroom accounts, these lessons are now live in our lesson library, so you can access them here. And I just want to mention as well, we've got this on the slide, we've got all the links to those particular lessons that Melissa covered at the top of the hour. But you can also go to the Ozobot blog. We've got all the content here as well, and Melissa broke down for you what steps to follow for remote instruction, and then steps to follow for synchronous in-class sessions, because we really want to support you guys wherever you are, wherever your students are right now. So Melissa, I just want to commend you and the entire EDU team for putting this content together. You guys were really adamant from the beginning that this needed to be video-based and student-facing so that we could save time for teachers in this, again, really difficult time. So thank you so much for advocating for that and making it happen. Melissa and the team really had 2 goals, what I just mentioned, making it easy and simple for teachers, but then also making the content really engaging for students and getting them working hands-on even if they're at home right now, which we know is the case for a lot of your students. So everyone will get these slides and the webinar recaps. You'll have these links, but again, you can go straight to the Ozobot blog to get a recap. And I just wanted to talk really quickly about some things that are either brand new or coming really soon. So starting with what's coming really soon to Ozobot Classroom. This is one of our big updates for the back to school season. We're introducing student view within Ozobot Classroom. So those lessons that Melissa was just introducing, your students are actually going to be able to access these within Ozobot Classroom, watch the videos chapter by chapter, submit their work from there by uploading perhaps a picture of their work, making comments, and then they also will be able to, at the very end, just give you a quick social emotional check, let you know how they're feeling about the assignment. So this is kind of a sneak peek at that new student view. Our development team has been hard at work, burning the midnight oil to make this happen, so it's coming really soon in the next couple of weeks. In the meantime, though, those links to the lessons and the videos, you guys can start using that now if you need. So again, create your Ozobot Classroom accounts. This is the link to do so, classroom.ozobot.com. And one thing I want to mention is, we'll be blasting out on social and email about that update when it comes out, when the remote experience is built into Classroom. But when you go to use lessons, remote-friendly lessons within Classroom, you're going to want to sign in with Google. So if you have a Google Classroom account, that's how you'll want to log in and or create your account. From there, you're going to be able to import your classes from Google Classroom. If you want to use the remote friendly lessons and access that new student view, you're going to want to import your classes in this way. If you've already created classes and they weren't imported from Google Classroom, you can go ahead and create duplicate classes because that's what's going to give you and your students access to that remote friendly experience. We do have more LMS integrations coming soon. We just prioritized the one that when we surveyed our community, most of our educators were using with Google Classroom. So let us know if you guys have any questions about that. Again, you want to import your classes from Google in order to use the remote friendly lessons as soon as that student view experience is available. And then one other thing I wanted to cover. So all of that remote friendly lesson content that Melissa shared today, it's all free and accessible to the educator community forever. She mentioned some of the standards aligned remote friendly content that's coming next. So we're going to be covering math and ELA, and everyone will also get access to some of the initial weeks of content for standards aligned content. But at a certain point, in order to follow along with the curriculum throughout the year, you're going to want to be part of our Ozobot one-to-one program because all of this content will be available in the beginning through December 1st of this year. But then to follow along week by week on a continuing basis, that will be limited to members of the Ozobot one-to-one program. So I'm going to give a quick kind of synopsis of that program. It's brand new. We just launched it. Our goal with this was to make it easy for educators to teach those core subjects anywhere, wherever their students are learning right now, without sacrificing STEAM. And a lot of you guys, I think half of the group here is already familiar with Ozobot, so you know the 2 ways to code, and you know our color codes and how getting students working hands-on again at home can be really valuable. So just to quickly run through how the program works, each student gets an Ozobot in this Evo student pack you see here. That's to engage them hands-on, whether they're at home or in school. So this program is designed to address your needs right now if you're remote, but then also transition with you and your students back into the classroom. Teachers through Ozobot Classroom get access to those remote friendly lessons. Like I mentioned, everyone's going to have access to the first couple of weeks, like 6 weeks or so of the curriculum, but then the rest will be gated and only available to Ozobot one-to-one program members. Teachers also everyone gets access to PD opportunities and training within Ozobot Classroom. And of course, all of our in-class lessons. We have over 400 lessons there. For schools and districts, what the program allows is an ability to track their students' engagement, even when students are working beyond screens and hands-on again. So that's something that we've heard is really important to educators, and it's something that's really hard to provide right now while students are working remotely. And if you have questions about this, we will address them in the Q&A, or the group will try and catch those in the chat. One question that has come up a lot, though, that I wanted to address up front. We've been talking to educators about the one-to-one program with the launch. Everyone's been really excited, but one of the first questions is, how are schools affording this? How could my school really go one-to-one with Ozobot? So we've been polling some of our initial one-to-one customers, and we just wanted to share the information that they've given back to us. Ozobot does qualify for a lot of federal and state initiatives, including the CARES Act. So we wanted to highlight that here. We might be biased, but we think that the Ozobot one-to-one program is actually a great way to use your CARES Act funds to address the immediate needs, but then you're also bringing something in that you can use later when you transition back into the classroom. So just wanted to highlight that. And if you have, if you're kind of interested in learning more about the one-to-one program, want to get a quote, want to get your school or your district involved in a conversation about it, you can book a demo at this link, ozobot.com/hybrid. And if you do that, you'll go to that link, fill out the form there. I'll pull it up right here. And what will happen is you'll actually get connected with an account executive who's really focused on STEAM solutions, whether it's in-class, remote, or hybrid, for your specific state. So that's the purpose of this form, to really connect you with someone on our team who might have insights about those state funds you could take advantage of. So really recommend that. Even if you're not sure that your school would be ready to do this, it's worth exploring. We'd be happy to talk to you guys and figure out a solution for you. If that still doesn't feel doable, I just want to highlight that we have a really big giveaway going on right now. I think it's our biggest ever, where educators can enter to take their classroom one-to-one. So it's capped at up to 36 students, but you could get bots, EVOs for all of your students, that EVO student pack that I showed here in the beginning, and then access to the remote-friendly curriculum all throughout the year. So the link to enter is right here, Ozobot one-to-one giveaway webinar. And there's a couple different ways to enter, so really recommend diving into that, sharing it with your educator colleagues, and helping us get the word out about that giveaway. And I think that brings us to Q&A.
So it looks like the chat's been super active, so I applaud everyone for your engagement. If you have any specific questions that haven't been answered, please pop them into the Q&A feature just so we can more easily see them. But let's see. I'm not sure. I'm trying to go through the chat to see if there's any questions we missed.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Cassandra, we can hear you.
The chat has been active, so I'm not sure, like while people are putting their questions in Q&A, I'll just say some of the ones that came up a bit in case people missed our answers. Kim was just asking about like what happens if the bots break or something like that. So you want to answer?
Oh, that's such a good question. Thank you for asking that. So we actually baked that into the Ozobot one-to-one program. One thing I did not mention is that there's worry-free bot replacements. So right at the start of the program, however many students you're getting those EVO student packs for, you'll get 20% more bots. And those are just to hang on to address, you know, I lost my robot, mine broke, anything that could come up when students have them at home or are transitioning between home and the classroom. So again, you get 20% of your bots up front. The one-to-one program runs as either a 2-year or a 3-year subscription. So at the start of your second year, you'll again get another 20% of those bots replaced. No questions asked. We just want it to be easy and seamless for the schools. So thank you for asking about that.
We have one question from Adam who is asking if there's a pager document that states or outlines the differences between BIT and EVO, which I do believe we have. What's the best way to access that document?
A comparison between BIT and EVO?
Yes, I believe we have the charts, but
I have the chart, so I don't know if Adam wants to email me and I can send it over that way, but my email is heather@ozobot.com.
It's a little bit, I don't think it goes as much into the parts. So if you're a BIT user and you want to adapt that EVO lesson, I recommend just knowing that, you know, EVO only has extras. So like BIT has the same things, but just fewer of them. So like it's got the LED light on top, the same motor, or not the same motor, but a motor that moves its wheels. So basically you would just need to figure out what BIT doesn't have and cross those things out and use it that way in terms of the hardware. Still has a little motherboard on top.
Yeah, and the biggest difference between the two, there's a couple features that kind of fall into that category of the biggest differences. Bluetooth capability is one, and then proximity sensors are one of the programmable features that only EVO has.
it looks like Tyrone has a question. He says, these first 4 lessons seem to utilize paper, markers, and bot. Will later lessons transition to computers? If so, are these web or app-based and compatible for desktop? laptop, iOS, Android, etc. So quick and easy answer is yes, these initial lessons are just color code based, but our engineers are working hard to have an Ozoblockly, to build in Ozoblockly for teachers and students to use through Teacher View and Student View. So that will be coming out soon. So with lesson content to match the Ozoblockly. And that will be accessible through Google Chrome. Is that right, Adrian? Is that accurate to say? So yes. any device, we recommend Chromebooks because generally that's what students use, but a device with Google Chrome browser.
I'm just looking at questions in the chat too. A couple questions about other LMSs or integrations, specifically Clever. And yeah, a lot of those are on our radar. We're going to be prioritizing, again, based on our survey of the community and who is using what the most. So we started with Google Classroom, but it's definitely part of the roadmap going forward to keep introducing integrations.
We had a question about the lessons. Right now are the markers and paper, wondering what the plans are to make it more on the computer, if any.
I think that's the one Melissa was just addressing in terms of when we're introducing Ozoblockly.
Sounds good.
And I see Louisa asked a great question. She said, do the students need to have an Ozobot account? No, they do not. That'll all be part of the Google Classroom integration. So if you're a Google Classroom user, you will, like I was showing earlier, sign into Ozobot Classroom with your Google account, import your classes from Google, and then when you use these remote-friendly lessons and create an assignment for your students, they're going to get notified the same way they do when you're using Google Classroom the rest of the time. So they'll get that notification when they go to access the assignment within Google Classroom where they have accounts. That will bring them into Ozobot Classroom. So it's super seamless and integrated.
Gary had a question about the cost, and we have, Adrian, please correct me if I'm wrong, I believe there's a 15% off promotion that is currently happening. So we encourage you to reach out to a account executive and we'll have the information up there for you to book that demo. You can go to ozobot.com/hybrid to learn more.
Yeah, and they'll go over pricing for both of the subscription models, whether you're interested in a 2-year or a 3-year subscription, and they'll break that out for you and cover, like Melissa mentioned, that 15% off promotion we've got running. That ends at the end of September, so I recommend booking a demo sooner rather than later. Like we mentioned, you'll get connected with one of our account executives. Definitely invite other teachers from your school, even someone from your district. The more the merrier in those meetings. It's also just great for our team to get to connect with you guys and understand your needs and how things are shifting. So it's beneficial for both sides, I promise.
All right, with that, I guess we don't have any other questions. So thank you everyone for joining us. If you have any questions or would like a PD certificate, feel free to email support@ozobot.com. If you'd like to have an email with this webinar recording, opt in for updates at ozobot.com. If you scroll to the bottom, you can put in your email address and you'll get emailed this recording and the slides. And the links to the lessons that we covered today are also in the slides. And to learn more about the one-to-one program, visit ozobot.com/hybrid. Good luck, everyone. Stay safe out there and have a wonderful start to your school year.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.